What up, my people? If you ever wondered how much real estate investors' mortgages were on their rental property, today you're about to find out. Now, today I'm actually gonna go over all of the numbers with you as far as how much I pay for 3 of my rental houses. Now, this is significant because number one, I bought all 3 of these houses at the same time. Number 2, the houses are literally side by side. And then also number 3, it's valid because I've had these houses for about 2.5 years now. So we're gonna go through all of the numbers as far as how much I purchased them for, how much my monthly payments are, how much rent I get, the insurance and the taxes. Okay, and I guess that's where we should really start. Whenever you're analyzing a deal that you're planning on keeping or reselling or even wholesaling, there's more than just the price that you're going to have to consider. You know, there's always the price, yes. There's also the rehab amount that it's going to cost you to get upfitted. Sometimes there is rehab, other times there's not. There's always going to be property taxes that you're going to have to look at. And then there's always going to be insurance costs that you'll have to look at, and any other holding costs like water or power or even gas. And of course, you'll have to compare all of those costs to how much your potential monthly payments will be. And of course, we need to make sure that there's cash flow. So whatever that total is, it has to be a difference, so that way you can take home, and that way you're not just breaking even. So if you guys will follow along with me, you know, for the day, hang out with me a little bit. I'll show you some properties and tell you how much we pay for these 3 rentals. Let's get it.
Ready? You now rocking with working man say. It's like that, baby.
Now, so welcome to my houses. We got this one right here, we have that one right there, and then we have another one all the way down at the end. And these houses have been pretty good for me. I actually picked all 3 of these up at the exact same time. Now, they look like 3 separate houses because they are, but the way it is zoned, they're zoned as 1 lot, multifamily, less than 4 units. Okay, so apparently the way it used to be is it used to be 3 separate lots, but it was cheaper if the lady put them all together and changed the zoning to, you know, instead of 3 separate houses, just multifamily. So that's what she did in order to save herself money on property taxes. Now, technically, I could separate these back and sell them or refinance them, you know, to increase the value on these. But me personally, I'm not really interested in doing that because I'm gonna keep these for the long haul, and I'm gonna tell you why. So now you guys know that the way I find my property is a little different than what most traditional people do when they're buying property. The traditional way is to get pre-qualified, you know, from a bank or mortgage broker to buy a house. Okay, and then they take that letter and go shopping with a real estate agent and look at properties that are listed on the MLS. These particular properties, the way I found these was very strategic. Okay, on the east side, I got a ton of properties. I remember the lights had went out when this storm came through the city. We ended up staying with you know, Mr. Cox at the time because my lights had went out, so he invited us over to stay at his house, me and my family. And he woke me up the next morning after the storm and says, "Hey man, we just had a storm, we gotta go check on our properties." That was an amazing day because when I went to go check on our properties, we didn't own any together, but I had bought a couple from him, and he was just like, you know, being a mentor. So when I did that, I noticed that all of my properties was great, but a couple streets over, I got a house right down here on Franklin Street. It was devastation. And so what I determined was that day, since I didn't have to help any of my tenants, I will go out and help other people's tenants and other people's houses, because it was devastation. I mean, it was a big deal. You know, they had like different societies or whatever, different companies out here, different nonprofits helping out. So I decided that myself and 2 of my acquisitions, we would get out here and help people clean up. Little yard work, nothing crazy. And I figured we could devote, you know, 3 to 4 hours out of the day doing that. And so that's exactly what we did. A part of our goal and mission out of just helping was also to market to those people, right? To say, hey, for whatever reason, if you do want to sell, then we would actually buy the properties in as is condition. And that was such a great campaign. You know, we made door hangers and we just had like a genuine connection with the community. So out of that, I talked to this seller. He was here on that day, you know, even though he rented out the properties. And I had to follow up with him over 1.5 years. I ended up following up with him. Not that he didn't want to sell, because day one he wanted to sell. He just wanted too much. He wanted $50,000 each house. And so after following up with him after 1.5 years, he still wanted $50,000 for each door. Insurance, he used you know, a little bit of money to replace some windows, do some roof, do some siding on them so they look fairly decent on the outside. And he had all 3 of them rented out. I mean, fairly low rents, but rented out. What we ended up coming up with was I would pay the amount that he wanted for a fair amount down, and then he'd take the remainder of his profits over time. Now, the benefit of him doing that is, number one, he gets the price that he wants. Number two, since the rents were low, he didn't make a lot of cash flow. Him and his brother would split it. The benefit of becoming the lender versus the owner is now you get rid of all of the maintenance costs, all of the headaches of managing the tenants, the property management, the property taxes, the insurance, all that good stuff. And now you just get a fixed monthly rate. And so when I explained that to him, he really loved it. So we ended up agreeing for $50,000 for each house, $5,000 down for each house. So I'm bringing $15,000 down. At the time when I negotiated this, I'm always a good negotiator. You know, interest is always in the back of people's heads when they think about becoming the lender. You know, they might not have never thought about it before, but the first thing people talk about is interest. And so you got to be careful with your wordage. Okay. I told him equal payments, and at first he went along with it, but since I didn't like high pressure him to agree and sign on the phone, he had like a week to think about it, and he brought up interest. And I said, hey man, honestly, money's so cheap right now, it ain't no need in us talking about it. Why would I pay you 3, 4, 5% when I can just go to the bank? And for some reason he understood that, and he agreed to 0% interest on the notes that he provided for me. Okay, now what we pay him, once again, we paid $50,000 for each, so $150,000, $5,000 down, so $15,000 total. And what we pay him and his brother, the brother gets $600, Mr. Tim gets $600, so we paid $1,200 for all 3 of the properties. So essentially our payments are right around $350 for each property, or whatever that math turns out to be. So our monthly payment is $1,200 every single month. He agreed to finance it for us for 8 years at 0% interest. So this is a winner chicken dinner, because the way I saw it was, at this time the house was rented out for $500, that house was rented out for $500, and that house was rented for $500. But the way I saw it is, if I could add a little value, right? If I could maybe do central heating and air, maybe if I could replace some of the appliances, if I could do some of the electrical, then I could add value to the experience that the tenants was having, and I would get more rent. So essentially, when I bought it, they were making money. Now, like I said, I do no money down deals. Okay, so being that I had negotiated a down payment, I have 2 options, maybe more. But in what I can think of right now that I thought about at the time was, I have 2 options to not have to put this $15,000 down. I can A, take the contract that I made with the seller and assign it to someone else for a fee, maybe $15,000, $20,000 I could make if I just gave the deal to somebody else, and that's what we do for a living. So we have buyers who are always ready and always wanting, is willing to grow their portfolio and pay for the ease of access. Or I could bring in a partner and sell them equity in the deal. I hope this makes sense. I could bring in a partner and say, hey, look, I got this good deal. Me and you, we can buy 3 houses together. Okay. What we would need is, let's call it $15,000 down. Let's call it, you know, a $5,000 fee at least for me. So $20,000, and let's say another $10,000 so I could refreshen some things up. So I'm pretty sure that's what I told Mike. Hey, Mike, give me $30,000. That will buy you 50% equity, 50% ownership in these 3 houses, and I'll do the work as far as maintaining them, making sure they make us money, and you'll continue to hold them with me. And that's what I end up doing. So now that $30,000 that Mike gave me was the purchase of 50% ownership. So I don't owe Mike any debt. We just split the net profits quarterly for that particular LLC. Essentially what I did for us is I went over to the Secretary of State website, right? Registered us an LLC, something that doesn't involve his name or my name, okay? And then I made an operating agreement that explained his responsibility and my responsibility, and I paid at the time $125 to create us an LLC. And what I did to get my fee out of the deal, right, because my acquisition company got the deal on the contract, I need to sell, okay, I need to sell the property to our new LLC. So I did an assignment to our new LLC, which allowed me to get paid to buy it. Bam! Just like that. That's how we do it. Yeah. Now let's continue to go over it, because you know, whenever you're looking at rental property, you have more than just your mortgage. So the mortgage is good, right? But what about the other expenses? So on property taxes, every year, $1,800 for the year. So let's break that down. 1,800 divided by 12. So every month we pay about $150 towards property taxes. So we got our monthly mortgage of $1,200, and then we have our property taxes of $150. Insurance on each of the houses is $450 times 3, so that's $1,350 for the year divided by 12. That's another $113 or $112.50 for insurance on the properties. And I typically average about 10% every single month on what we collect for maintenance. At the time, like I said, we were collecting 500, 500, 500. Now we're collecting 1,100 on the one all the way down. It's fully renovated. We're collecting $700 on this one behind me, and now we're renovating this one down here on the end. And I have someone that's going to be moving in that are already agreed to $1,050 to $1,050. Right, since my total payment is $1,700, let's determine how much money we're actually bringing home. Okay, once again, I'm renting this new one here for $1,050. I'm renting the one in the middle for $700, and I'm renting the one down on the end for $1,100 minus $1,700. So after my maintenance, my insurance, my taxes, and my mortgage, I'm cash flowing $1,150 every single month. Now, the coolest part about this deal is, like I said, I'm in for it at 0% interest. Secondly, I didn't have to bring any of my own money to actually own it. And then lastly, these properties are going to be paid for in just under 8 years. You guys tell me, like, is that good? Would you guys do something like this? Because me personally, I love opportunities like this. Now, I also want to share with you, like, how do you go about doing this for yourself now? Now I know I found these very niche after a storm. Yes. Okay. And believe it or not, you can do this the exact way I did it. And I'm gonna do my best to explain it so you guys can just copy and paste what I did. Okay. So the very first thing you should do is to download the Deal Machine app. So you can go to dealmachine.com/takeanaction, so that way you get my discount code. But you want to download that app. Okay. Secondly, what you want to do is you want to go into Google and you want to look for storm dates, maybe big hailstorm dates, or tornado dates, and then you want to look and see what areas was affected the most. Now, when you see those areas, you'll be able to go into the Deal Machine app and literally hit every house in those areas and market directly to those people. What you're gonna find is that some of those people didn't have insurance when a hailstorm or when a tornado or, you know, when a wildfire came through, and those people might want to sell as is. Another thing what you're gonna find is some people who had insurance, they took the insurance money, didn't fix up the houses and left them vacant, and now they want to sell the property. You know, or you're also gonna find those tired landlords who have property, who have tenants in them, and they're just tired of doing the business. Now, when they finally, you know, reach back out to you or say that they want to sell, you're gonna have to analyze the deal, and you're gonna have to make conversation and rapport with them so they can trust you, and then also prepare an exit strategy so that way you can buy the property. Now, once again, you're not gonna make an offer in cash. You're gonna let them know, hey, if I pay the amount that you want, would you consider a fair amount down, and taking your profits over time, and then letting them know the benefits of it. Now, I'm actually gonna drop another video right here so that way you can know all of the benefits of a seller selling to you on payments. Let's get it. Peace, y'all.